Hello, everybody, and welcome to this podcast where we listen to stories of schools told by students from around the world.
Here, we discuss different education systems around the world, burst myths surrounding them, and give a bird's eye view of schooling in other countries.
I'm Madhansh, and I'm accompanied today with my co host, Vineet.
Today is the first episode of the podcast, and we are accompanied by two guests all the way from New Zealand. Medhansh, why don't you introduce them?
Certainly, Vineet. Today, we are accompanied by Aden James Angelo and Alan John Angelo. I've known them since our days at St. Joseph's Boys High School in India, and they have studied in the New Zealand for the past 4 years. Aiden and Alan, could you tell us a little bit about yourselves?
Hey, this is Alan here, and I'm going to Westlake Boys High School as a Year 12 student in Auckland. I participate in a range of co-curricular activities in school to make the most of my time in high school. Kia ora. Hello. My name is Aden Angelo, and I'm Alan's twin brother. I'm 16 years old, and I'm a Year 12 student at Westlake Boys High School. I have several interests, mainly surrounding physical activity, music, and writing. Pleasure to be here.
Thank you, guys. Now, let's jump into the meat of today's discussion. The New Zealand education system provides students with three options: the IB, the NCEA, and Cambridge. Could you guys elaborate on these different systems and the one you are part of for our listeners?
Right. So, out of the three educational systems in New Zealand, the ones me and Aiden are doing are NCEA because that's what's offered in our school. We used to have Cambridge in our school before, but that's removed since 2019, and we never had an IB program, though IB and Cambridge are both offered in different schools across New Zealand. In NCEA, there are three levels: level one, level two, and level three. Um, we start level one as year 11s or year 10s, and it goes all the way up to level three. And past that, there are scholarship exams available as well, which is a higher level, closer to uni level. And we can sit those exams to gain scholarships too.
So, exactly how hard are these scholarship exams? I mean, are they as tough as the school examinations or are they a bit easy considering the fact that they are for the university itself?
It's much harder than the school exams. And
Yeah.
essentially, what you do is you spend the whole year preparing for a scholarship exam. And how you do this is by accessing previous year papers. And you learn content that's given on the topic for that year. So, for example, this year in biology, our topic is evolution, and we've been learning different types of evolution in scholarship biology classes. And we do this over the year to prepare for the end of year scholarship exam. And once you pass, if you pass the exam, you get a $500 grant for studying in an Auckland university. And if you fail, you have the chance to attempt again if you're in year 12 or 11. Because in our school, people tend to do it early on, but the thing is, it's intended for year 13s, right? So yeah,
Do you study a variety of subjects, or is it restricted to only topics that you will be majoring in college?
the scholarships itself, you can choose any subject you like, whether you do that as an actual subject in your school curriculum or not. Like I don't do drama, for example, but I could take a scholarship in drama if I want to. So yeah, we have any options. Like we can choose anything we want, and it's completely up to the student to prepare for it as well.
Okay, so is the scholarship offered only if you choose that particular subject in college or to any subject you take? Let us say I wanted to major in a STEM subject. Could I write the drama exam and use the scholarship from that for my STEM major?
Yeah, you can still use it. It's just worth money when you go to university. So they deduct some money from your school fees or university fees when you go into uni if you pass a scholarship. You can it's like something you can claim. Oh,
As we are on the subject of choosing subjects, does it create a disadvantage in New Zealand if you say don't choose a particular subject in high school? Like, going back to India as an example, once we pass our 10th grade and enter 11, we choose streams like science, commerce, and humanities, which is otherwise also known as arts. Let's say if I wanted to go ahead and apply to be a part of NASA's astronaut candidate program, and going by research as given in the NASA website itself, the 3 points out of which I would like to mention two of them. Quote number one, 2 years, 36 semester hours, or 54 quarter hours of work towards a PhD program in a related science, technology, engineering, or math field. Number two, a completed degree of medicine or degree of osteopathic medicine degree. Close quote. Now, to achieve success in these levels, I would have to study science as a stream in my 11th and 12th, despite it being the ISC or the CBSE curriculum in India. So, coming back to my question, does it create a certain disadvantage for students in New Zealand, or do you have the same advantage as any other student who is sitting for the scholarship examinations for those particular subjects?
Um, the scholarship examinations themselves are optional, but if you want to major in a particular subject, you have to choose that subject as part of the level 2 and level 3 curriculum in New Zealand. So you'll be doing that subject as a year 12 and year 13. And yeah, that is necessary to get into university for that subject.
You guys keep mentioning year 13. Do you have 13 years of schooling in the New Zealand curriculum?
India basically. So year 11 is like class 11, but we have an extra year. We go till year 13, and then we go to university after that.
Is that really beneficial, or is there any benefit to studying for 13?
Um, it's I guess it's kind of required if you need credits for university. So in some countries they have this thing called credits, and in New Zealand you need literacy credits and numeracy credits, which is what you earn from subjects like English and math, right? And you need a certain amount of level 3 credits, which you can earn only in year 12 and year 13. So if you can't get enough the required number of credits to pass level 3, you might not have the requirements to be able to get into a university. So in some cases, there have been people who drop out of school or to go to a full-time job before they finish year 13. So there was a friend which I had who did year 13 for a few months before he left to do his full-time job. And yeah, it is possible to leave, but at the same time, it's still useful to have those credits.
Following up on that, could you gain all the sufficient credits required to go ahead to university by year 12 and not attend year 13 at all?
Yeah, you can actually. In some cases, there are year 12 students who manage to gain enough level 3 credits to pass. And that is possible, I think, depending on the subjects you take, because there's some courses like, say, for example, music, which offers a lot of credits in our school at least. And if you gain enough level 3 credits, then you can, yeah.
So, the credits that are given to the students, do they vary from school to school, as you just mentioned? That your school gives a lot of credits for music.
It depends on the number of standards you do. So a standard is when you complete a sort of like a project or certain assessment task, and there's different standards which get you a different amount of credits. And uh, it depends on the subject, but in some subjects there are standards which are mandatory for every school in New Zealand. But there's other subjects, which, like for example, technology or music subjects, where you can just choose what standards you want to do, or the teacher chooses for you. So yeah, it depends on each school.
Do all the schools in New Zealand follow the NCEA or the IB and Cambridge curriculums?
Sorry, can you ask that again?
I asked, do other schools in Auckland also follow NCEA or do they also follow Cambridge and IB?
Oh yeah. So our school does NCA, and other schools they range in different curriculums. So some schools do IB, some do Cambridge. It just depends on the school. Like some schools even do all three and give it as an option to the student to choose one.
What are the pros and cons for each system?
Um, NCA is considered as like one of the easier ones out of the three. So if you're applying to like a university overseas, say Ivy League or something, they're gonna look at NCA and say it's the easiest curriculum. So the students that apply from NCA are gonna be less likely to join an Ivy League university than an IB student. So Yeah, that's where they draw the line as well. But if you're able to do really well in NCA and like especially the NCA scholarship exams, it can really raise your chance of getting to a good university later on.
So, among the Cambridge and the IB curriculum, which curriculum is the harder one in New Zealand?
Um, IB, I think, is the hardest one.
Alright, we understood how the high school system works in New Zealand. What about post high school? How does that work out in New Zealand?
After high school, students they can either apply for university, or some students even take a gap year, or some students like just don't go to university. They just go for their full time job, right? For us too, we're going to go to university, and um, a lot of students apply overseas as well, like Australia or like other countries across the globe, and that really just depends on the student and what they choose to study. But yeah, university after school is like a preferred option for greater success and in education in the future. Yeah, there's also several job options, and like I said before, if there's been year 13 students who just leave halfway through their last year of school just to do a full time job because they're already into it. Scholarships are a really great way to choose which university you want to go to. So, for example, if you did a scholarship in our school, you'd be eligible to get fees deducted from Auckland University. But there are scholarships for Otago University, which is in Dunedin, which is in the South Island of New Zealand. Or you could apply to get a scholarship overseas and study there. But the good thing about New Zealand education is there's a wide array of co-curriculars. So the the thing that is unique about us is that there's a lot of things like a lot of sports, music events, and stuff like that, and culture that's not available to the rest of the world, which we do in our culture. And I think that it's really good in enhancing our whole skill set as a whole, and it makes us like I guess more unique, you could say, and it puts us at an advantage when you apply overseas. You know, those are skills that are wanted there.
How much importance do these co curricular activities play when you're applying to a university in New Zealand? Because we all know that overseas it's given a lot of importance, but in New Zealand itself, how important are they?
With New Zealand, if you say played a sport, for example, right? Um, Once you finish high school, the standard or the bar it's a lot higher. So if you're really good at a sport, then the chances that you get into a university through a sports scholarship is much higher. Because if you prove that you're good at a sport and you have talent in that area, then you're more likely to get a scholarship for that sport and you can play it in the university, right? So there's that. And one big thing is we both did rowing, and rowing is very big around the whole world. So we have old friends who have gone to the US on rowing scholarships, and even in New Zealand as well, you can get rowing scholarships too, which make you eligible for universities too. Of course, you need to be academically good as well.
So, just like in every other part of the world, you have to maintain both your academic record as well as your sports that you're taking part in, just to ensure that you get the sports scholarship in New Zealand as well. Am I right?
Exactly.
And how competitive are the university applications in New Zealand?
It differs between universities and the courses you take as well. So, say you wanted to become a doctor and you wanted to do biomed. Um, in New Zealand, there's universities where it's highly competitive and you need an extremely high maintenance of grades. So, in Auckland especially, you need to be very good at it. But say you got a scholarship to Otago University. It's considered that it's not that hard to get an Otago University scholarship. But at the same time, it's good that you have it because the conditions there are just more rural compared to Auckland. So it just depends on your region in New Zealand because it's very different everywhere around here.
Are all colleges public or private, or is it mixed?
Yeah, we go to so our school is public, but and there's private schools too. And for universities, there's government funding. So if you get a scholarship, it's all funded by the government.
Right now, I'm again taking a point of view from what I've seen, heard, read, and even lived after studying so many years in the Indian curriculum, in fact. To all our listeners who are studying in India or those who know what how the Indian curriculum works, it will not come as a surprise to anyone that India gives academics a higher seat, a higher throne, in fact, a position of power than extracurriculars such as sports, Model UN, etc. Parents are much more ready to spend lakhs after lakhs in coaching and tuition centers rather than in football, cricket, badminton, etc., just to name a few sports. What they don't realize is this is that it hampers the child's total mental stimulation, well-being. It gets stopped, it gets hampered. You can't, it doesn't progress further on, and that is why we feel that the school systems which are in New Zealand and in other countries as well are much more better, finer, in fact. Now, coming back, but then again, of course, it is a common knowledge to all that when you apply to Ivy League universities such as Harvard, you need to have a set of extracurriculars to be even considered seriously for an application. So, I don't know if any of you guys have seen on Instagram. If you've searched something regarding the Ivy League itself, you will notice that to get into the Ivy League, you need to do this, this, this. Granted, they're ads, but still, it shows how important your extracurriculars are rather than your academics itself. And that is why many students forget that aspect. Rather than students, the parents forget that aspect, that they feel that academics, if my child is very good in academics, then he will get into this Ivy League universities. There's no issues at all. I'm afraid that even after so many years of Indian independence, in fact, it's been what 75 years of Indian independence at the moment. We have just celebrated it. The curriculum has not progressed or gone further than what we can expect, and I hope that someday in the future it is as similar to that what we see how the New Zealand curriculum works, so that all students, irrespective of where we come from, India, New Zealand, the United States, everyone is well rounded in all spheres of life. It in fact gives the student a guarantee that, yeah, so I know this, I am confident in this, but hey, I can also do this as well. My academics is strong, but my extracurriculars such as sports or anything in fact for that matter is strong as well. I would like to remind to all our listeners that this is strictly my opinion. We are all entitled to have our own opinions, and we would love to hear some of yours as well. Thank you.
How much does university study actually matter when you're applying for jobs? Because you guys said that a large number of students drop out in year 13 and start to work. So, how beneficial is it to pursue college?
I've seen usually the people that leave high school early go into jobs like building and construction or running a business or yeah, those kinds of jobs. Like you can develop those a lot of those skills by yourself or by learning from people around you with connections or like asking your friends, family, and stuff. University, it's like a higher level of education where you get more insight, because not everyone has families where they run businesses. So if I wanted to do business and become an entrepreneur, I'd have to go to university because no one in my family runs a business. So yeah, it's more like a learning experience thing where you have to go and study certain subjects before you can go out into the real world.
So, coming back to the university applications, as you brought up that the doctorate program in Auckland, do they look at both academics and extracurriculars as well?
And both, yeah, both.
Okay, let's move on to the next part, the extracurriculars. What extracurriculars do you guys pursue?
Um, I do quite a lot. So in my school, I've been involved with sport, music, and cultural and academic activities. So the ones I'm doing this year are academic council, but you get selected. You apply for it, and you run academic events throughout the year and help students improve their fields in terms of whatever subjects they're struggling with. I sing in two choirs, so they're called correlation and voicemail. One's a male choir, one's a mixed choir. So we combine with Westlake Girls, which is the school down the road. Um, I play in an orchestra, so I play violin. I'm also taking four scholarship subjects, which I do outside of school time. So I have extra classes basically, and those are PE, biology, history, and English. Um, I've been involved with the rowing program for 3 years now, so it's been 3 seasons, 3 summers, and it's very extensive. It's like around 20 hours a week, and at least like 8 to 12 trainings a week. So it's pretty heavy. And I also play hockey during the winter. Um, Other groups are we do Kapa Haka, which is like it's the culture of New Zealand, right? So there's the Maori race, which was the original tribe of New Zealand, which came here first, right? And their culture, known as Kapa Haka, is like tribal dances, songs, and yeah, we do those performances. We're a part of other clubs and groups like the Transition Buddy Committee in our school and the Interact group, which are like associated with the community around the school and around Auckland, and we essentially do volunteering service and improve the communities of Auckland. I'm also a part of the student librarians, so just weekly duty, and we get pizza lunches every at the end of every term, which is good. And yeah, that's about it.
And what about your co-curriculars, Alan?
For me, it's very similar. I'm in the academic council. I sing in voicemail choir. I'm doing 5 scholarship subjects, so I'm doing English, calculus, bio, chemistry, and physics. I also do Kapahaka. Was involved in rowing for 3 years as well. Same volunteering groups, transition buddy committee, interact as well. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Wow, that's a really extensive and comprehensive list. Are you able to manage your time well with all of that? That's really nice to hear.
There's a question that I perhaps forgot to ask you is that just like back in India, we have a large number of counselors and teachers who help you understand how to proceed with your future university goals and levels. They help you understand what you're ambitious about and accordingly go ahead and study them. So, do you have something as similar to that in New Zealand?
Yeah, in our school, we have a career center which students go to seek advice of what they want to do in the future, and they have like quizzes, and they have teachers who help you figure out what you want to do and what you're interested in. Around New Zealand, there's events. So recently, last term, we had a careers expo in Auckland, which was for like around there was around 50 organizations there, and many were for overseas universities, like how you can get in, what you need to do. Many were jobs, businesses, enterprises, and we didn't go because we're on camp. I heard from friends that it was extremely useful for all of them to learn what they wanted to do in the future, and it helped them all like gain understanding of who they are, what their interests are, and where their heart lies and what they want to do in the future, right? Um, around so yeah, around New Zealand, there's a lot of these careers expos and things that help you decide who you want to be, what you want to do in the future.
Yeah, those things are very common outside India, I believe. Even here in the US, I have seen a lot of career explorations and a lot of counselor help to decide what college you want to go to and what you might want to pursue as a career. And I also had another question for you guys. So, what are you guys planning on majoring in college?
I want to study biomedical science. I'm deciding between Australia and Auckland for which university I want to study in. Right now, I'm leaning towards Auckland University because it's closer. I don't have to travel across, and it's like just easy to access. And yeah, I want to become a doctor.
What about
And
you, Aiden?
Mine's pretty different. It's my dream to study in the Netherlands, and there's 2 universities there which I've been wanting to go to, and the main one is the University of Eindhoven, which is in the city of Eindhoven, and also want to study biomed and seek a path for becoming a doctor. The other university there is called Fontes, which is the other alternative I see in case I can't go to Eindhoven. But yeah, it's my dream to go there.
Alright, guys, with that, we have reached the final segment Mythbuster. What are some of the myths about New Zealand's education system that you have heard and found to be untrue after all your years there?
There's a few of those. So firstly, there's the fact that foreign people, mainly adults, who come to New Zealand and they haven't done any schooling in New Zealand, they tend to think that it's much worse than other countries. And well, it's not bad that they're assuming it. It's not wrong that they're assuming that either. It's just that it's not accurate, you know. And the thing is, there's systems in New Zealand which you won't find in many other countries around the world, which are very effective. And we used to have this in our school. They removed it recently, but it's the streaming system. Many schools in New Zealand have this, and it's essentially where you do an entrance test for a school, and they put you into streams. And a stream is like a range of classes based on your ability, your academic capabilities, and the top scorers on the exams get put into the top streams, and then there's a mainstream, which is the average, I guess, or the middle people, and there's the last set, which is those who need help. And the thing is that the top classes and the bottom classes are all smaller than the average size of a class, so it's around like between 28 to 32 people, while the midstream, the B stream are like much larger. So they're like around 35 and more in a class. And the thing they why they do this is so that they can get focused when you're on the end. So if you're on the top end or the bottom end, the teachers can focus more on the students and either push them more or just bring them back and teach them the basics before they move on. And there's the urge for everyone, of course, to be in the top streams, right? And everyone just has this push to perform better. And I think that the streaming system is very effective when they split you into your abilities so that you're being taught what you need and not being overwhelmed or underwhelmed by the education. That's why I like it. Also, another thing that people say is that the New Zealand system doesn't have any depth. Well, I think that we don't have much breadth, which is what I mean by that is we don't cover many topics, and we mainly focus on New Zealand stuff, but we go into depth on everything, and we make and teachers make sure that everyone understands everything thoroughly, right? Um, but yeah,
And how did you feel about the education system in New Zealand after having studied in India for almost your entire life?
intermediate school should be much harder than it already is because what most of my friends and what we agree on as a whole in high school is that intermediate is way too easy and it's just like a joyride for everyone, right? And I think that it really should be harder so that it can set the base standard for high school, so that's not as big of a jump than it already is. Because people who move from year eight intermediate school to year nine high school find it extremely hard to cope with the new surroundings, how much bigger the schools are, and yeah. And the thing with year nine and ten is I don't think it's too bad, and they give us a wide range of subjects to do in the junior years of high school, and it gets better in my opinion because you start getting more into depth into everything you're learning. And once you're into the senior part of high school, so year 11, 12, and 13 is when you really start putting your own efforts into each internal assessment, every external assessment, exam, project, everything that you do. And it's really up to you how much effort you put in, how much you want to talk about a topic. For example, say you're writing a report, how many words you write and how like detailed and concise you are with it. But yeah,
So, Alan, do you agree with Aiden as well on this perspective, on this take of the New Zealand curriculum?
yeah, I think intermediate schools they have to increase the difficulty in the academic system, and they also like don't really provide a lot of co-curricular activities. Like you might have the random, football zone day or something, right? But none of them happen regularly, and it's quite frustrating in intermediate school if you have like nothing to do. You just go to school. There's no point. You're wasting your money. You go back home only to play on the PS4, like whatever you do, you know. And then if it was like if the New Zealand system was just harder in general and you had harder material that you were exposed to, I think as a whole, everyone would like the average student would be smarter and you'd have like more critical thinking and stuff like that going on. You know, the lifestyle would definitely improve as well.
I think I can agree with your point here as well. From my perspective, it is a big jump from 10th to 11th grade in India. I feel personally that students must be better prepared to ensure that they land on their feet instead of succumbing to the pressure in the 11th grade.
Okay, so I kind of have to disagree with Vineet over here. As I stated earlier, I studied in St. Joseph's Boys High School in Bangalore, India, which is a very reputed Christian missionary school. It's a very well renowned school in India itself. Now, SJPHS follows the ICSE curriculum. That's at least the curriculum I followed, I studied under in the European school. Now, the amount of pressure that was given to both academics and sports, as well as extracurricular, were equal. Perhaps not as much as what, of course, New Zealand curriculum offers or even the United States offers, but significantly a higher level, and that built us. And I mean, when I say us, I refer to all my Joseph brothers and sisters I have out there, all the old boys, old girls, who I feel will agree with me on a overall scale, not perhaps in all points, but in an overall manner. And I also include Aden and Alan in this because they've studied in the school for a significant period of time. Now, I feel that the ICSE curriculum at least builds you because it builds you as an overall person in general. Now, when I shifted to the 11th grade in CBSE in the school Vineet studied, uh, I felt, and I took up humanities, which is better known here as arts, because if I say humanities, people over here tell me, isn't it the same thing? So yes, it is the same thing, but humanities is a much more better version of telling of what you're studying. But anyways, coming back to topic. But when I shifted to 11th grade in the CBSE stream, as in the same school as Vineet, I found that I was lacking the so-called pressure in terms of academics. I felt that there was too much lackluster, if that's the perfect word to be given to that, where I felt that you can do what you want. If you don't want to do, you can't. uh, Whereas I felt that amount of pressure from when I was in Joseph's, that if I have given you a task, you have to complete it. There is no other option. And I felt that that indicated discipline over a large scale, and that's really important, in fact, not only in school life but also across throughout your life, because discipline gets you in a lot of places, whereas indiscipline just doesn't. You just stay where you are. Now, so as I was saying, I didn't feel the so-called pressure in terms of academics. It was more on the basis of if the strong students are studying, let's focus on them. If the students are not studying, let's just leave them. We'll be concentrating on year 12. That doesn't help either student in any way. You if suppose if a particular subject is say a bit weak of mine, you don't pay enough attention towards me, how am I supposed to grow? How am I supposed to go ahead? I'm not saying in all subjects. This is entirely my opinion, you all out there, so don't just bombard me after when you hear this. But as I was saying, everyone is entitled to their own opinions, in fact, and I have my opinions about how the CBSE works and how the ICSE works, and how I prefer uh, ICSE over CBSE. And no, I'm not saying that if I'd studied in the ISC curriculum, I would have done in a fantastic manner. I would have loved the pressure, but I feel that I thrive on the pressure, and that's the reason why when felt that I was missing that pressure in CBSE, I felt kind of weird, kind of not being able to go ahead with how I would usually go ahead. So, yeah. Now, again, please, listeners all out there, this is my opinion. So, I kindly ask all our listeners to please hear other opinions as well when it comes to CBSE or the ICSE or literally any other board. All right, just don't bombard me after you hear this, please. Thank you.
I mean, of course, that may be an opinion of many. And that's what I think makes it so unique in this podcast, where we can agree and disagree on topics and have debates about it as well.
Yes, of course, I quite agree with you, Vineet, that this platform is indeed a unique one in which people can come and share their opinions. But then again, the discussion of CBSE, ICSE, then in fact the entire Indian curriculum and the education system, its advantages, disadvantages, we must have at a separate time because we can keep agreeing and disagreeing on topics on how the Indian education system actually works. Now, coming back to you, Aiden and Alan, I had one more question. Uh, as you had said that some of the topics are not in deep or in detailed. So, how in deep or how in detail do you want to be? Do you want subjects to be for the students who want to study overseas? Let's say not in New Zealand and Australia, forgetting the southern hemisphere completely, or at this point, going to different continents. Let's say the United States, North America, Canada, even in Europe, etc., etc. So, coming to that point, how in deep do you think it should be detailed for those students?
Um, I think that the good thing in New Zealand is that once you get into high school, you have very few like periods for a school timetable day. Yes, you still have a variety of subjects, but they make you focus on a few. And the thing which I want to improve is that the amount of time that they set for each topic that you learn in each subject should be shorter because in some subjects I feel like they're too lenient. For example, history and biology for me, I feel like if we were given less time, everyone would still be able to complete it within the time period because the pressure makes diamonds, you know. Yeah, if they made it so that there was less time spent on each topic, then you'd be able to cover more and still keep going in depth because that's already something that's good in New Zealand.
Well, that's all the questions that we have regarding the New Zealand curriculum. Do you guys have any final words for our audience?
Yeah. I wanted to leave you with a quote that I read like when I was watching motivational videos quite a while ago, and it's by Ralph Waldo Emerson. It said, "Life is a journey, not destination," and it's something that I will always encourage people to realize because it's not the end result that matters, but it's more about the journey. You know, the work ethic that you develop, the passion, the dedication that goes into whatever you're doing. So with everything you do, just do it with passion, work hard, and keep going at it because even if you don't hit your end goal, you'd have developed like a strong mindset and like tons of resilience that will help you in the long run. From me, the most important thing that I want others to know is just to make life fun. If having or finding fun is not something in your world, then change your world, change your surroundings, start fresh. Here's two quotes that I live with. First one is "A normal life is boring" by Eminem, and the other one is "Do not pray for an easy life. Pray for the strength to endure a difficult one" by Bruce Lee. Keep winning. Don't settle for average. You're always better than you think you are.
Thank you so much for joining us today, Aiden and Alan. I loved your quotes and I loved hearing all your experiences, and I hope you enjoyed it as well. We both wish you the best of luck for your schooling and beyond as doctors, and we pray for your health and success. Thank you. Thank you very much. And that's it for today, everyone. Thank you for joining in. I'm Medhansh, and I'm accompanied with my co-host Vineet. Thank you all, and have a great day.
Thank you everyone for joining in with us to the first episode of The Student's Opinion. Do subscribe to our YouTube channel and make sure to listen to us on Spotify and Amazon Music. Don't forget to share the podcast with everyone you know and make sure to leave your comments